Good morning and welcome to Webinar Tuesday with the VI SBDC and the U.S. Small Business Administration. My name is Mary Jo Williams. I am the training coordinator at the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center, and today I will be your facilitator and moderator. But before we begin, let me share some information with you about the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center.
Has your business been affected by COVID-19? The Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center is available to assist entrepreneurs and small businesses in the U.S. Virgin Islands. The VI SBDC is sustained by the University of the Virgin Islands and the U.S. Small Business Administration and collaborates with local agencies to support the small business community. The VI SBDC is nationally accredited and provides free consulting, business education training, and technical assistance. Attend workshops with subject matter experts from both the public and private sector. From idea generation to exit strategies, the staff at the VI SBDC is ready to assist you. Now is the time to contact them if you need assistance with the Federal Paycheck Protection Program, as this funding opportunity is scheduled to end May 31st, 2021. So don't wait. Call or email them to find out how they can help your business grow and succeed.
¿Su negocio ha sido afectado por COVID-19? El Centro de Desarrollo de Pequeñas Empresas está disponible para ayudar a los empresarios en las Islas Vírgenes de los Estados Unidos. El VISBDC es sostenido por la Universidad de las Islas Vírgenes y la Administración de Pequeñas Empresas de los Estados Unidos para apoyar a la comunidad de negocios pequeños. El VISBDC está acreditado a nivel nacional y ofrece consultoría gratuita, educación empresarial y asistencia técnica. Asiste a talleres con expertos en la materia, tanto del sector público como del privado. Desde generaciones de ideas hasta estrategia de salida, el personal del VISBDC está listo para ayudarlo. Ahora es el momento de contactarlos si necesita ayuda con el Programa Federal de Protección de Pago, ya que esta oportunidad de financiamiento está programada para finalizar el 31 de mayo del 2021. Llame o envíe un correo electrónico para averiguar cómo puede ayudar a que su negocio crezca y tenga éxito.
Okay, and welcome back. Again, my name is Mary Jo Williams. For those of you that are just joining us, I am the Network Training Coordinator at the Virgin Islands Small Business Development Center. And today we're in for a treat because our presenter is Mr. Wayne Huddleston. He is the Senior Area Manager for the Virgin Islands for the SBA. And Mr. Huddleston comes to us with a lot of experience. He's been a SBDC director. He's been with the SBA for a while. He's a veteran of the U.S. military, but best of all, today he's here as a Senior Area Manager of the SBA, and he will be sharing some information with us. Wayne, I turn control of the floor over to you.
All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you, Mary Jo. Let me see, I'm going to share my screen real quick. Okay, let's see. Okay. This morning, everyone, what I'm going to do is I am going to essentially, instead of doing a topical presentation, well, we're going to have a topic in this presentation. It's going to be SBA resources and programs that we have to assist business owners during COVID-19. Instead of going through the standard presentation and going through all the details of the Economic Aid Act and then the American, I think it was called a Rescue Act after that, I am going to go through our site and visit the area of our site that talks about these programs, because a lot of the information that I give, you can get a lot more information on our site and go into greater detail. I'm going to give a basic overview of the major programs that we are prioritizing right now to help businesses recover from the pandemic. And then that will take about 20-30 minutes or so. And then we're going to preserve the last half of this to answer any questions you have, and we can dig into more detail on any of the programs that I covered, plus anything related to SBA. So if you are not interested in COVID programs right now, but you are interested in federal contracting or one of our other programs, this is a weekly forum we have where you can ask any questions you have about anything we do. But right now I'm going to talk about our program. So this is just our webpage. So as you can see right now, the agency is prioritizing COVID relief programs. That's the first thing you see when you go to sba.gov is this. All you have to do is click it to learn more. And then it'll highlight the major ones that we are prioritizing right now. I'm going to go through each one of these in an overview, and then we can go into more detail and answer your questions that you may have at the end. So the first one is the PPP program, referred to the Paycheck Protection Program. This has been running for about a year now, since a little over a year since the pandemic started. This is a program to provide payroll to your employees, to keep them on the payroll and help them get through a difficult time as you may have a severe cutback in your business and ability to keep them on the payroll. So if you want to learn more about the program, you just click on the link there and you can get more information on it. This is a program that you apply for directly through a lender. Here in the Virgin Islands, all the 5 big lenders are participating: Popular, First Bank, Oriental, Merchants Bank, Bank of St. Croix are all participating in this program. You can also use any lender you like, though. Almost all major lenders across the country are PPP lenders. So if you have an existing relationship with a lender stateside, like a Wells Fargo or Bank of America or Chase, they are all processing PPP loans. There are also many lenders that we refer to as fintech lenders that are online only. Some like Cabbage, there's one called NewTek, there's a few others that have been active and have been providing loans to Virgin Islanders. You can apply for any of those. There are essentially 2 types of PPP loans, and one is the first draw and one is the second draw, and they are basically what the title implies, is that if you are getting a PPP loan for the first time, you are getting a first draw loan. If you want a little bit more information about it, here it is, but it is essentially a first-time loan to help you meet your payroll obligations. You receive this loan from the bank. It is a forgivable loan, which is the most important part of PPP, is that it's forgivable. So in a way, it kind of turns into a grant, as long as you can show that you expended the funds for the purposes that the loan was intended, which is ideally payroll. So if you get a loan through your lender for PPP, I recommend that you spend all of it on your payroll. If for some reason during your covered period, which is anywhere between 8 and 24 weeks following your receipt of funds, that you are unable to spend it all on payroll, you can spend as little as 60% on your payroll and the other 40% to be on rental payments or expenses to help with your business COVID-19 mitigation and other sources. But if you can spend it all on payroll, that's the easiest thing to do for your forgiveness. But if you need to, you can spend it on other areas, and that is outlined here. Almost any business can apply for it, as long as you're not a large business as designated by SBA. You can be a nonprofit, you can be others. Visit this page, we'll give you a lot more information. If you've never applied for a PPP loan, read more about it here. The important thing to know about this is that it goes away May 31st, right here. May 31st, this program goes away. However, most lenders are going to close their application portal prior to May 31st, typically about a week in advance. Some may go a few days in advance, but many lenders close early so that they can have time to process all the applications in their queue and get them to us by May 31st, because that May 31st deadline is SBA's deadline to receive those applications from the lender. So even though it says May 31st, apply now. If you think you might need it or would like it and you haven't applied yet, there is absolutely no reason to wait. You should go ahead and do it. This deadline has been extended a few times, but as we are nearing the end of this pandemic and the economy is starting to recover, I do not expect this deadline to be extended more. It could be, but the chances of it being extended diminish each time. So I would go go ahead and get your application in. The second draw PPP loan is just what it says. If you've already received a PPP loan in the past, this is your second draw. The deadline is the same, May 31st. If you don't get it in before then you could be out of luck. One thing, a question that frequently comes up is, can I get a PPP loan and then turn around and get a second draw PPP loan? You can, but you must wait until your covered period for your first loan has expired. So the minimum amount of time between the time you can get a PPP loan and then get your second draw is 8 weeks. At the end of that 8 weeks, you must show that you have either spent or will spend all of your loans under the first PPP loan. Then you can apply for your second draw. There are a few more additional requirements in the second draw. They are right here. First, as I mentioned, you must show you use all the funds for the first draw. An important one is that you can demonstrate at least a 25% reduction in gross receipts between comparable quarters in 2019 and 2020. They must be the same quarters. So if you're picking the first quarter in 2019, you must show it the 2020 gross receipts and show that there's been at least a 25% reduction. Application process is the same. You go through your lender. Highly recommend you stick with the same lender that did your first loan, but again, you don't have to. It just makes it easier that way. And again, the forgiveness process is also applied through your lender. Everything is done through them. They make the decision on the loan. They make the decision on the forgiveness. SBA just verifies those decisions. So they send the application to us and we verify it. Same with forgiveness. We will do our own calculation to verify that the business is eligible for it. So everything goes through your lender. And again, the top lenders here in the territory are all PPP lenders. So that's a general overview of the PPP program. I'm going to hit a couple of the other programs as well. Some I'm going to spend more time on than others. EIDL is another big program that we have here that has been running since the beginning of the pandemic. EIDL stands for Economic Injury Disaster Loan. Every time there's a disaster, this is usually authorized, but this COVID-19 disaster, this authorized the loan program for the entire country. This would not be forgiven. This is a loan and it will stay a loan. So there will not be no forgiveness of it. Another big difference between this and PPP is that you apply directly through SBA. You do not go through a lender on an economic injury disaster loan. The amount you can receive is up to $500,000. It depends on your revenue in 2019 or 2020. They will look at your tax statements and your revenue to show what you qualify for. Even though it is a loan, the terms are very favorable: 3.75% interest for businesses, 2.75% interest for nonprofits. You can stretch that out over 30 years. If you if you have applied for this loan, I don't think it says it here, but if you apply for the loan in 2020, you have essentially 24 months. Let's see, 24 months economic loan amount of, okay. You have essentially 18 months to repay it back. I'm sorry, 24 months to start your repayment. If you get it in 2021, if you're approved, you have 18 months. So basically the deferment goes for 18 months or 2 years, depending on when you apply for a loan. What I am encouraging people, if you have a business and maybe you're okay right now, but you're struggling a little bit and you're unsure about taking on the debt, I suggest many people go ahead and apply and get that approval, get those funds in an account, keep them in a separate account. Don't commingle them with your regular operations account. If 6 months from now you decide you do not need those funds, you're able to get through this pandemic without them, you can return those funds to SBA. There is no penalty whatsoever. The only thing you would have to pay is the small amount of interest that would have accrued during that time, and that would be it. Most businesses find that that is well worth the price to have that sense of security during a very uncertain time. So this deadline goes through December 31st of this year. So you have a lot more time to apply and consider it if you haven't applied. You can only get one loan. You cannot get multiple economic injury disaster loans. If you received a loan you can get an increase though if you received a loan prior to the maximum amount that was raised up to 500,000. So in 2020, the maximum amount was set at 150,000. If you are one of the businesses that maxed at that amount and you received a loan of $150,000, you are eligible for an increased consideration to see if you would have been able to be approved for a larger amount had that $150,000 loan cap not been in place. So now that the cap is 500,000, anyone who received a $150,000 loan should be receiving an email from SBA inviting them to apply for an increase if they wish. And if you didn't get that email, then you probably are not eligible for an increase. So an important loan program. Again, it goes through the end of the year, but if you need the funds, don't hesitate to apply. You can just do it through our site, and as you saw on that page I showed you, you can just click the link to say apply here. I'm going to talk about these at the bottom real quickly. No, I'll start with the revitalization fund. We'll do that one. So this is a new program that has been in the works since the American Rescue Act was passed in March and signed by the president. That program was being developed by SBA, was released just this week. So just yesterday, the portal opened for all restaurants across the country, and not just restaurants. These are for bars, bakeries, food trucks, a lot of food service industry entities. The federal government felt that this was the hardest hit, one of the most hardest hit industries in the country during the pandemic, and has carved out a special fund for that. You apply for this also directly through SBA. You can hit this link now and apply. You have to enter in information about your restaurant or your entity. This program is intended to provide grant funds, so it comes directly to you. It's administered a little bit differently than a typical grant, in which you would go through grants.gov. You must show you receive the funds, but then you must show within a certain timeline that you have spent those funds with the within the guidelines of the grant. If you do not, or you do not show that, then you are responsible to paying those funds back. But if you can show that you spent those funds on the correct purposes, then there's no reason to worry about paying any of those funds back. There's, as I mentioned, you can apply right here online. There are a lot of great, there's a lot of great information here on this site. So if you click the guide, you can read all about it. It's about a 23 page guide. This gives a lot more in-depth information about how the program works, how to calculate your loan amount, or your fund amount that you would be funded for as a business. There are also little webinars online on how to apply. So on this webinar right here, it will take you through to a YouTube page, the SBA YouTube page, where we have staff that walk you through each page of the application process. I highly encourage you, if you're in the food industry, if you're a restaurant owner or some other, that you first read this guide. It doesn't take that long to read it, go through it, take a look at this application. This is just a sample. You don't have to fill this out. You can do it in a number of different ways. And then watch this video. After you've read the guide and watched the video, then register to apply. A lot of frustration and questions can be answered if you do just a little bit of reading ahead of time instead of walking through and then you have a question that could have been easily answered in the portal. If you do have questions or concerns, though, you can read more on the site. Then it does give a contact number for you. Let's see, I believe I may have gone past it. Apply, get help with your application. So there is a call center support, 844-279-8898. As I mentioned before, this program is open to every restaurant owner across the entire country. So you can imagine there's a huge amount of volume on the site right now and a huge amount of volume in the call center. So I have heard some complaints or some people call and then they could not get through immediately. I suggest try to be a little bit patient and just try to call again. Usually people are able to get through after their first 2 or 3 tries. But a lot of information is out there. We have thousands of people working on this across the country at the time. We have a call center staffed by a lot of people to help. But again, there's a lot of great information on the site. If you're in the Virgin Islands and you tried to register in the beginning, there was an issue with registering and recognizing territory area codes. That issue has been resolved. So you should not have that problem right now going forward. But a lot of information on our site, suggest you read it through if you're a restaurant owner. I'm going to go through these other ones just really quickly because they apply to a very small section here in the Virgin Islands. Shuttered Venues Grant. This is a grant. You also apply directly through our site. This is administered differently than some of our other programs. It is a grant. So we are unable to, in my office level, walk you through that application process a little bit more in depth because there are some federal guidelines tied to grant administration that we must adhere to. However, this is a grant specifically for shuttered venues. So they are community theaters, movie theaters can apply. Go down to the who can apply section. Live venue operators, theater producers, museum operators, talent representatives, live performing arts organization operators. There's not a lot of these here in the Virgin Islands, but there are a few. If you are applying for this, a lot of information can be found right here on your site, and you can just apply directly right there. SBA Debt Relief is a program where we are providing payments to SBA guaranteed loan holders. So if you have a 7A loan, a 504 loan, or a micro loan through a local, well, through any lender that received an SBA guarantee on that loan, you should know if you have an 7A, 504, or another micro loan that was SBA guaranteed. SBA has reached out to all the lenders and have provided the guidelines through which you will be making those payments. There is nothing you need to do in this. Should receive a notice from your lender that SBA is making a certain number of payments. It depends on the loan and when it was approved, but SBA is making a certain number of payments that were approved by Congress on these loans. Your lender will let you know about it. I cover this only to let you know that if you have a 7A or 504 loan and you believe you did not receive any debt relief under this program, and this is the first you're hearing about it, you should contact your lender now, ask them about it, ask them, if you had received those payments or why you haven't, if you haven't, and if it qualifies, and they'd be able to walk you through that process. I have not heard of any 7A or 504 loan recipient here in the territory that has not had those payments applied. But we have people sometimes that get on these from other areas, not in the territory. And but I haven't heard from it. I have not heard of this not being applied to anyone who was deserving. But if you're unsure, just contact your lender. This is a chart which talks about cross-program eligibility. Many of you may be applying for more than one program, and I suggest you should. PPP, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. If you're a restaurant revitalization fund. One thing to note here, if you are a restaurant and you've already received a PPP loan, those funds will be subtracted from the amount you're approved under a restaurant revitalization fund. Now, many restaurants can have those PPP loans subtracted and still receive a significant amount of funding under the restaurant revitalization fund. But you just make sure you must note for that. Idle funds are not subtracted from it because those are loans and you can still get an idle or a restaurant revitalization fund. But it makes sense to read through this chart to make sure you understand what that means. But if you're applying for the RRF, the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, in that application process, it asks you about your PPP loan that you may have received in the past. And so you can just enter that information there. But you can apply for multiple programs in here. All right, so that was a quick overview of the major programs that we are prioritizing now at COVID-19. Again, you can go through our website if you don't need those programs, but you're interested in some other things such as federal contracting. You can learn a lot more about the different programs that we have, learn about what Hub Zone is, how to get certified as a women or veteran-owned business. We also have what's called a learning platform, a learning center, where you can get a lot of information on just how to grow your business and how to help. And then one thing that I want to emphasize to everyone, and most of you should be aware of this because you're in a program that is hosted by the SBDC, is make use of the Small Business Development Center locally. They have full-time staff, business counselors that are paid, and their primary job is to make sure they give you the counseling, advice, and support you need to be successful in your business. That may be getting more information and assistance on how to apply for one of these SBA programs. It may be assistance in how to apply for another type of loan program that's not through SBA, or helping you grow your business beyond the territory, or address some HR issues, or help with just business planning. The amount of assistance they can provide runs the gamut. So I highly suggest you take advantage of them, not only during the pandemic here, but at really any time. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen right now. We're about halfway through. What I'd like to do is just open it up to any questions you have on any of these programs, and go through there. Let's see, I see something in chat. Oh, it's just saying, put your questions in chat if you have any. So at this point, though, I'm just going to open it up to anyone. You can either unmute yourself and ask a question verbally online, or you can type a message in chat and we'll be sure to answer it for you.
Great, thank you, Wayne. So if you want to ask Wayne a question on air, please raise your hand. We will recognize you and then you can ask your question. So just to reiterate, the Paycheck Protection Loan Program ends on May 31st.
Correct. For SBA, that's the deadline that lenders have to get us the loan application. So as I mentioned, many lenders will close it before then.
Okay, cool. All right. Very good. Slide. Come on. All right. And another point for folks that are listening today, tomorrow afternoon, we have starting your business in the Virgin Islands for those of you that aren't in business. And I can't imagine anybody being on the call right now that's not in business. But that's at 2 o'clock as part of the business development series. But we have a question. Restaurants and accounting firms submitting RRF across the territory had problems getting response from the helpline yesterday. That's just a comment.
Yeah, good morning, Leslie. I am hearing that. I've got multiple calls and emails this morning on that. This is not a territory specific issue. It's my understanding just the volume across the country. As you can imagine, there are thousands and thousands of people calling that line. And I just know they're working through the volume as fast as they can. And unfortunately, I have no way of addressing that. But it's not a problem specifically for the territory like those area codes were at the very beginning. But I'm sending that feedback up, and district offices across the country are sending that feedback up. The headquarters is aware, and they're working through a lot of third-party contracts to help resolve that.
Okay. While we're waiting for that next question to pop up, on Thursday at 12 noon, we have a webinar on getting the most out of your website by making it more accessible. That's at 12 noon. And then Friday, there's a webinar in collaboration with the Safety in Paradise office on fall prevention. Even if your business isn't a construction business, if you have people using step stools and things like that in your office, this is definitely a webinar that you would be interested in, and that's at 10 a.m. on Friday. Thursday's webinar is in collaboration with the Disability Rights Center of the Virgin Islands. And do we have another question? Wow, Wayne, it looks like you're going to get off early today.
Yeah, last week we did the same presentation and went all the way up to the end, but that's fine. If people don't have any questions, they can always reach out, send an email, or call SBC for assistance. Be happy to help.
Okay. Oh, but one more important announcement. Starting on Wednesday, May the 12th, we have the Next Level Business Plan Writing course. It is an intensive 10-week course. It starts Wednesday, May the 12th, and it ends on Wednesday, July the 14th. That course will help you to work on your business plan if you're a startup business, as well as if you're an established business. Startup businesses should have a completed business plan at the end of the course that they can use to launch their businesses, and existing businesses should have a business plan that should help them take their business to the next level. The course costs only $149. That's 3 hours a week of in-class sessions plus homework. So you will definitely get your money's worth. And the registration deadline is Friday, May the 7th for signing up for this course. And we look forward to seeing everybody in the course. Do we have any more questions from the audience? Okay, well, if we have no more questions.
See one more question.
Okay.
Mr. Tatwane is asking, I've applied for an EIDL advance 2 or 3 weeks ago, but I have not heard anything from them. Should I email them to find status? I'd say right about now, if 2 or 3 weeks go by, yeah, then it's time to just go ahead and get a status update. Or perhaps the easier way is to call the 1-800 number. I'll type it in. Pastor. Call that 800 number. Just have your application number in hand, so they can look up and they will tell you that status verbally on the line right there. But yeah, usually if 2 to 3 weeks go by, it's not that uncommon for it to take that long. But you know, if you're into the 3-week period, it's certainly reasonable to go and ask for an update. Oftentimes they can't tell you how fast or how long they expect, but they can at least tell you if it's, sometimes people are missing information and they missed the email to them that said, hey, we were waiting on this document. So it always makes sense to, after a few weeks, go ahead and call or email.
Thank you very much.
Sure.
Okay, well, if we have no more questions, on behalf of our state director, Mr. Ted Gutierrez, and the staff on St. Croix, as well as the staff on St. Thomas, we want to thank you all for joining us this morning. We will be back next week with Wayne at 10 a.m. on Webinar Tuesdays, and we will have a new topic for you. Thank you very much for joining, and we will see you all tomorrow. Have a good day.
Thank you.